Hello fellow developers, welcome to this channel. So today we are going to talk about another interesting talk. We are going to talk about today about the Spring Boot dependency management. Okay, so whenever you are adding a new dependency into the Spring, the important thing that you have to remember that if the dependency version is managed by the Spring Boot, you don't have to add it. What do you mean by the managed by the Spring Boot? Whenever you are adding a dependency, let's suppose that if you are adding a Spring Boot starter AOP dependency, okay, and inside that you are giving the version tag and you are giving the specific version for that Spring Boot starter AOP dependency, okay, but you don't have to give the specific version for that Spring Boot starter AOP dependency because it is managed by a Spring Boot. Now let's understand that what is the meaning of that it is managed by Spring Boot. It is just a meaning like that if you don't give a Spring Boot, if you don't give the version for that particular Spring Boot starter AOP dependency, then your Spring Boot is smart enough to take the compatible version of that particular Spring Boot starter AOP dependency. Okay, whatever the compatible version of is required for that Spring Boot starter AOP with the other dependencies, it will just pick up that right one for you. And let's just think about that how does the Spring Boot is doing all these things. Okay, as well as we know that in the pom.xml, if you go on a top, you can see that Spring Boot starter parent project. When you go into that parent project by right clicking on it, and when you open the pom.xml of that parent project, inside that you can see under the properties, the Spring Boot has managed lots of versions. You can see lots of versions are available there. It means that Spring Boot is manages this. And if you are adding a new dependency, just think about that. If your dependency version or if your dependency is there, if your dependency version is there, you don't have to add it because Spring Boot will pick up it from there according to the compatible version with the Spring Boot version whatever you are using. Okay, so this is actually the important thing. You don't have to always add the Spring Boot whenever you are adding a dependency. If it is managed by the Spring Boot, you don't have to give the dependency version, right? And let me give you another hint that when you don't have to add the dependency version. Suppose that if you are adding a Spring Boot starter AOP dependency and if you give any dependency version from your side, then you will see in the pom.xml there is a yellow line will come. It is just a warning for you. When you hover on that particular yellow line, it will say that you are overriding the particular version which is managed by a Spring Boot. Okay, this is a hint that you don't have to add this dependency version because it is dynamically picked by a Spring Boot for you, whatever the compatible version for you. Okay, so yeah, the key takeaway, so that's it for today. Now I just wanted to give this particular important and crucial information to you guys, and the key takeaway from this video is that if the dependency version is managed by a Spring Boot, you don't have to give it. Okay, please don't give it. Otherwise, if you will give it and if it will take your version in the future, you will get another conflict, version conflict kind of issue, and you will end up with the mess, all these kind of things. Your time will be waste and all this kind of, then you have to just find out that what is happening there. That's the important thing. And the disadvantage is like that if you are adding a dependency version from your side and if it is not compatible with other dependency version, then you will get into the trouble. Okay, so this is actually the best practice that you have to follow with the pom.xml whenever you are adding a dependency and you are in a Spring Boot project. Okay, that's it for today. We'll meet you in another video. Yeah, thank you.